face your partner, please. Ready?
Yes!
Your belt's not on, you may put it on, it's fine. Everyone can just sit over here, please. Good. You guys get a little closer. Just for the bus.
Move it.
After class, so just keep it in my hands.
Yes, sir.
So as most of you know, a good chunk of us, 21, 22 of us, something like that, from our dojo, just came back from our national seminar. Those are always very, very important events. But this year was particularly important for both the association and for us, for the association, because it was the first time that we had gotten together collectively in that way since COVID. So it was a big deal. And as some of you know, or all of you should know, actually, we had 3 of our 5 testing candidates complete their testing at the national seminar, and they did so successfully. So a lot of hand for those of you who don't know, in Japanese, the ranks are broken into 2 main categories. The Q ranks, Q, K-Y-U, is anything below the rank of black belt. Q is the Japanese, it means like class. And then there are the Dan ranks, which are grades or degrees. Okay, so anything that's a black belt and higher is, it's called a Dan generally. Okay, and when we have a new black belt, they are what's called a probationary. That's an English word. Probationary Shodan. Okay, which means a probationary first degree black belt. So two items I'd like to address there. Why the probationary period? Why not just go, hey, you were a brown 1, you went from brown 3 to brown 2 to brown 1, 1 being highest of the 3 levels. Now you're a Dan, or a first degree black belt. Why not just give them full recognition as a fully fledged black belt? Why the probationary period of usually a year, sometimes longer, but usually a year? Yes, sir?
So that way, whenever they receive the belt, they don't just go, oh, well, yeah, now I'm a black belt. They don't continue to practice and show that they've earned that belt.
Right, because to do so would demonstrate a fundamental lack of what it means to be a black belt. So fundamental, in fact, that the show in Shodan, if you look at Mr. Lust's certificate, it says Pro Shodan. The show. Count to 3 in Japanese for me, please. Go ahead.
Ichi-ni-san.
Okay, so Ichi ni san, right? So Ichi ni san. So if you had a 3rd degree black belt, they would be what? San, dan. If you had a 2nd degree black belt, ni, dan. Got it? But yet a 1st degree black belt is not called an Ichidan. They're called a Shodan. That begs the question, why? And what does show mean? Any ideas? Yes, sir? Beginner. So demonstrating that they lack the fundamental understanding of what the Shodan actually means. It means like a beginner black belt. Right? You can think of it as akin to, I've gone through all of my academics, I went through college, medical school, residency, and now I'm a full-fledged doctor. And the day I get, off residency, I'm good to go on my own, I quit. I stop practicing. Kind of missed the point, right? It's like I graduated Marine Corps boot camp, I'm good to go, and then I'm done. You're now a Marine. Now you proceed forward. Everything else is building you up to that point. Another way that's sometimes talked about is in the Q ranks, everything below black belt, it's like you're building the weapon, the sword, so to speak. Then at black belt, now you learn how to use that weapon. So we can come up with many analogies, but that probationary period is in large part, not complete, but in large part, is to demonstrate that they understand that the Shodan, the 1st degree black belt, is the beginner black belt. When they make their very first black belt class, they're at the back of the line in a black belt class. Does that make sense? So it's not Ichidan, it's Shodan to demonstrate the beginner mindset. In Japanese, there's another term called Shoshin, which is beginner's mind. And that same shows up, beginner's mind. The probationary period is to make sure that that student continues to demonstrate the spirit and dedication that got them there, and more now, helps out in the dojo, so forth and so on. Make sense? As most of you know, in our martial arts system, a tradition that began with Shihan is that once someone went from the Q ranks to the Dan ranks, the under black belt to the black belt ranks, as a measure of respect, we discontinued in a dojo in an official capacity or official events, calling that person by their first name. We always refer to them as Mr., Miss, or Miss, or Mrs. That. In the same way that, you know, a school kid may know their teacher's first name, but they call them, you know, Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith or whatever the case may be. So, with that said, just to make sure that we're clear, Tony is Mr. Ramirez. Where's Mr. Lust at? The best last name in the dojo. Mr. Lust and Jonathan, Mr. Norcross. And of course, we've all been calling them by first name for years and years and years and years. Me too. It takes a little getting used to, but they've earned that place within the art, within the dojo. So we want to make sure that we show them that appropriate level of respect during official activities. And you'll slip up. I'll probably slip up too. Just the way it goes for a few weeks, for a few classes, but we want to make that effort to recognize them. Yes? So with that said, we have 3 new probationary black belts, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Luss, and Mr. Norcross. So I'll have a hand for them. Unfortunately, Mr. Norcross is still up north. He's visiting some family and so forth for the next few weeks in New Hampshire. And Mr. Ramirez is a little under the weather. So trying to keep him out of the hospital tonight, so we'll see how it goes. But we got Mr. Lust here. Mr. Lust. Oh.
Sir.
We also got Mr. Batt and Mr. Batt too. Lines, please, quickly.